I hope you guys are having a good day. We really appreciate you joining the webinar tonight. We're really excited to be presenting for all of you. My name is Dylan Linsky. I'm here with my partner and my brother, David Linsky.
How's it going, everyone?
And we are partners of a company called Debt Free Living, LLC. And this part of our company, we are focused and we specialize specifically on helping people eliminate all types of debt. And over the past couple of years, we've really found a niche in helping students who just graduated, both undergraduate and graduate students, really learn strategies and ways to eliminate their student loans right after they graduated. Because as we've learned and as we've experienced, although you're graduating from medical school, which is an incredible accomplishment, the student loans that you've accumulated over this time do build up, and they do, have a tendency to control your life. So the more that you can control these loans, the more that you can understand these loans, the better off you will be. And that is really our intention with this webinar. This is supposed to be educational. We want you guys to understand that there are different ways of approaching this after you graduate and after you start making these payments. And, education is power, as you guys have learned, over the past couple of years. Studying and graduating, which is, again, an amazing accomplishment. We want to say congratulations to everyone here. And again, I have my brother David here, who is an absolute expert in everything student loans. So he may, join in and give you guys some more information if I forget to mention anything, or if he wants to add something, because again, he's an absolute expert in student loans. Also want to mention we do have a chat bar. I'm going to try to pay attention to it. Hopefully David can monitor it for me as well. If you guys have any questions throughout this entire presentation, we're going to answer them at the end. But if you have questions, you don't want to forget what they are, feel free to put the questions in the chat box throughout the presentation, and we will promise to address them at the end of the presentation. So with no further ado, we will get started with this. Again, we really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy schedule. I know you're having interviews, where your residency is going to be, so we're really looking forward to this. So before we get started, let's just kind of talk about student loans as a whole, right? We want you guys to understand that I know this is affecting you individually, but everything that you're experiencing, although it may feel overwhelming, and you feel like you may not understand a lot of it, and it's all happening really quickly, it's important that you guys understand that you are not alone. Okay, so student loans are the second largest form of household debt, and this is directly behind mortgage debt. So, mortgage debt is something that you're probably going to come into contact with in your life, and student loans doesn't fall far behind that. So we don't have the numbers yet for 2020. But 70% of the graduating class of 2019, 70% of the graduates graduated with student loans. And overall, there are 45 million people that currently have student loans, totaling $1.5 trillion. That's $1.5 trillion of student loan debt in this country. So this is becoming more and more prominent, as you can see, because it was at 600 billion in 2007. So the growth rate of this, it's just getting out of control right now. And this is something that at first was pretty surprising to me, but as I talk with more and more people, I find it less so. That 90% of borrowers do not know their interest rate. So if that, speaks to you, if you're a borrower right now, if you're graduating and you don't know what your interest rate is and you think that you're well behind the curve, we're here to tell you that that's not the case. 90% of borrowers do not even know their interest rate. Again, the average interest rate is 26.25%. So maybe you're a little bit higher, maybe a little bit lower than that, but this is just a good benchmark to measure. And the delinquency rate, hopefully this won't apply to you guys. Hopefully you're doing your interviews, you're getting ready to establish your residency and move on with your career. But the delinquency rate is a problem. The delinquency rate on student loans right now is 11.1%.
Yeah, and I'm going to comment on that as well. So delinquency and default when it comes to student loan debt is a little bit different than any other debt. So in 2006, student loans officially had fewer consumer protections than any other debt instrument in our nation's history. What does that mean to us, right? That means the lenders have the ability to garnish any of our wages, any of our assets without providing a court order. So if we fall behind on our debt payments to our student loan companies and we end up in delinquency or default, we are now subject to the lenders deciding when and what they want to take in terms of our assets. Now, this is not meant to scare, it's just meant to inform. Student loans also are one of two debts that will follow us even through bankruptcy, right? The other one, IRS debt. A lot of similarities for some reason between student loans and tax debt. The bottom line, the only way to get away from our student loan debt is to actually pay them off in full.
That's exactly right, David. Thanks for contributing that. And it really is surprising that there's such strict rules on student loans in particular, because as we just mentioned, it's affecting 45 million people, and it's such a big number. But, you know, it is very, very strict. Okay, and just looking at averages here, the average student loan for an undergraduate is going to be around $37,000. Okay, that bumps up on average for a graduate student to $71,300. But for you guys on this call, let's see how it changes for the medical school students, the people that are studying so hard, working so hard to do something productive for society, to actually help people, to improve the health of our country, right? The actual people, you're helping the lives of people in our country. You guys are looking at student loan balances on average around $232,000 by the time you graduate. So if you're looking at your student loan balance and you feel like you have such an incredible balance, how are you going to pay off these student loans? This is extremely overwhelming. Again, this is us telling you that you are not alone. But just because you're not alone, it doesn't mean that this isn't a problem. And just because this isn't a problem, this is a problem, doesn't mean there's not a better solution. So let's take a step back for a second. I really want you guys to think about this question. What do you envision for your life after you graduate? What do you dream about? What do you fantasize about after getting that diploma, after starting your residency, and after really starting your life? You could take 15 seconds to think about this question, and feel free to even add it to the chat, because this is important for us to know. Okay, so maybe some of you guys are thinking, some of you guys are writing, but maybe something that's important to you is just receiving the title doctor. You've worked hard for it, you deserve it. To me, all of you guys are doctors, and I'm happy to call you all doctors. Maybe you want to move into an apartment in a major city with your friends. Maybe you want to give back. You want to go do Doctors Without Borders. Maybe you've been waiting a long time to actually graduate so you can propose to your significant other and you want to get married. Maybe you just want to start saving lives and start saving money. These are all great things that you might want to do. But let's take another look at these postgraduate numbers. Okay, this is PricewaterhouseCoopers actual statistics here. As a result of student loans, 30% of college graduates with student loans are forced to move back home. Let's see how this impacts marriage. 40% of graduates with student loans need to delay actually getting married. Let's look how this affects your home ownership and maybe buying a house. Student loan borrowers are 10% less likely to purchase their first home between ages 23 and 33. Now, I don't know the exact ages of everyone on this webinar right now, but this probably does apply to you. Now, let's talk about savings and retirement. 50% of student loan borrowers have less than $50,000 saved for retirement by the time they're actually done paying off their student loans. So these are really, really large numbers, and it shows you how after you graduate, although you're leaving behind your education and actually taking tests and all that type of stuff, you're not leaving behind your student loans. Okay, and these numbers aren't meant to scare you, as David mentioned before. These are simply meant to inform you. Let's take another step back here. Let's just take a look at just the standard life numbers, okay? The average person, the average American. What are things that cause you the most stress? You can take a second to think about that. Here's a study done. As you guys know, stress has a huge impact on people's health. All right, so when people were asked, this is another survey done by PricewaterhouseCoopers, what is the number one thing that stresses you out the most? You can take a look at these numbers here: relationships, health concerns, job, some other things. But a huge majority of the people that answered, 46% of people, the number one stress in their lives is financial or money matters and other challenges associated with finances. Okay, we got through all the information and all the statistics here, so everyone can take a deep breath now, okay? I know a lot of that seems scary, but fortunately, at Debt-Free Living, we have real solutions for these very real problems. So who are we at Debt-Free Living LLC? What exactly do we do? Okay, so we're a financial planning company, but we're not guys that are going to focus on growing your assets, right? We take a different approach to financial planning. The most important thing to us is eliminating your liabilities. We specialize in helping our clients eliminate their debts. We're not a refinancing company. We're not a consolidation company. We're not here to negotiate with the lenders. Here's what our approach is. We understand the industry. Like I was saying, my brother is an absolute expert in everything student loans. He understands how they work. He understands how the lenders work. And understanding and actual knowledge and education on the matter, when you give a payment, how much is going to interest, how much is going to principal. These things really do matter, okay? So that's the first approach, is we really do understand the industry. Now we combine that with financial concepts and strategies. We have specific financial vehicles that we are able to use to be able to pay down debts in general, but how it affects you guys, student loans in general. So you put your money into these different financial vehicles and they grow, you're able to access this money and then pay off the student loans. And the more you pay off the student loans, the less money is going to paying back interest and more money is being put to growth and retirement. Okay, so by combining our industry knowledge and these financial concepts and strategies, you're going to be spending less time in debt. You're going to be spending less money on interest. That means it's greater money in your pocket and greater balance for growth and retirement. So let's look at spending overall in America right now, the average American household. All right, if there's 100% of money and how it's spent, let's take a look at how it's allocated, right? 34% of every dollar is spent on interest, whether it's student loans, whether it's your mortgage, whether it's medical bills, whether it's your car payment. 34% of all spending on average is just going directly to a lender, simply because they gave you the money to live your lifestyle. 40% is going to the government, it's going to taxes. So if you take these two numbers together, that's 74%. 74% of all your spending is going to either interest or taxes. It's going to a lender or the government, which only leaves 23% is dedicated to your lifestyle, going out to dinner, buying the things that you like, and leaves only 3% for savings.
I just want to jump in here real quick. You might be thinking to yourself, 40% in taxes, there's no way I'm going to be paying 40% in taxes, right? We got to think about it logically. You're going over to New Jersey, over that, the Ben Franklin Bridge, that's $5 every single time we go over it. You go to a hotel, there's hotel tax. Everything we do are being taxed on. That's not just our federal and state income taxes right there.
Right, so when you combine everything, it's the majority of all of your spending, with interest really not far behind it. Okay, now generally speaking, by applying the financial concepts and the industry knowledge that we were kind of just speaking to before, let's take a look typically how our clients look at their spending here. Now, again, by using this industry knowledge and these financial vehicles, interest jumps from 34% down to 22%. Taxes, because we do tax deferred vehicles, you're paying 30% in taxes versus 40% relative to all of your other spending. Now, because these numbers have gone down so significantly, together they went down from 74% to 52%, you can now spend much more on your lifestyle and also put much more towards savings. So in this pie chart here, you'll see 33% now on average is going to maybe you get nicer restaurants, maybe you get nicer clothes or whatever it is that interests you. Okay, maybe you're going on better vacations. All right, and now you're also able to put a lot more towards saving, towards retirement, towards growth. So let's put this in real terms, okay? We wanted to provide you guys a real case study of one of our clients. So for the purposes that we can't give you his actual name here, he is a graduate of the University of Florida Medical School. He graduated about 2 years ago. For the purposes of this presentation, let's call him Dr. Gator, the Florida Gators, right? So when he graduated, he was going to be paying his student loans over 40 years, a 40-year term. When he graduated, his principal balance, the total loans that he took out was $216,000. So as you can see, that kind of matches up with the average for medical school graduates that we showed you earlier in the presentation. All right, his monthly payment was going to be $2,500. I know some of you are looking at that and saying that sounds like a big payment. It's all different depending on what your income is right out of college. The area of medicine that he was practicing, he had a higher paying job. So his monthly payment was going to be $2,500. And even with paying the $2,500, he is going to be paying over $250,000 worth of interest, $250,000 of interest, more interest than he's actually received in principal over those 40 years. Now let's take a look at this number. At the end of 40 years, how much money did he put away towards growth and retirement out of those $2,500 a month payments? Well, obviously, because he just paid off his last payment, he's got $0 out of that $2,500 a month that's ready for growth and retirement. This is when we met Dr. Gator. Let's take a look at his financial position after we kind of implemented a program that was simple for him to follow. All right. So originally, again, 40-year term, he would be making his last payment at the end of 40 years. With our program, that went down to 13 years. He's going to be completely out of his student loans in 13 years. That's a 27-year spread. Let's move to the next number, the principal balance. That obviously is going to stay the same. That's the money that he received. Let's jump to the next number, the monthly payment, $2,500. This number is going to stay the same. I want to say that one more time. The $2,500 a month, the same exact amount that he was paying before, is going to stay the same. He's not taking out any additional dollars. We are just able to allocate the dollars in a much more efficient way. As I mentioned before, understanding the student loans, knowing the industry knowledge, and then allocating other portions of it, of the $2,500 towards the investment vehicles that we were talking about. So as a result, the $250,000 of interest, that's not what he's going to be paying anymore. He will now be paying $93,000 of interest. So I'm not sure if you guys have your calculators. I'll do the math for you. That's an interest savings of $157,000. Okay, it doesn't even stop there. So now let's look at the growth and retirement. So again, he was at the end of the 40 years that he would be making his $2,500 last loan payment. He's now out in 13 years. So now we're redirecting the $2,500 all towards growth and retirement. So at the end of 40 years, instead of making his last loan payment, Dr. Gator now has an account balance worth $1.1 million. And this is a real case study of someone in a very similar position to the position that all of you guys are in. So let's talk about the process a little bit. If you're interested, hopefully you are, and you want to learn more, this is how we get involved with each one of you individually. Step one, we set up an initial meeting. So after this webinar, I'm going to send out a link. It's going to go directly to a calendar that's, it'll schedule time to meet with either me or David. We'll meet with you one-on-one just for, a brief introduction. We just want to get to know each other. We want to understand who you guys are and what are your future goals. We also want to give you another basic understanding of just loans in general. So beyond just this webinar, we want to give you even more of this knowledge. From here, we're going to give you something called a data gathering form. All right, this is, you're going to be able to list all of your current loans, what the balance is of each of the loan, what the interest rate is, what the term is, and any income information, what you expect to be earning in income once you start your residency, things like that. So this is the information that we need to be able to run our analysis. And then the last thing is debt-free living. We're going to do an actual analysis. We're going to run all these numbers that you gave us from the data gathering form, and we're going to run it through our software so that we can determine the best strategy for you, not Dr. Gator, but for you to pay off your loans and how to have the most positive impact on your financial future. And from there, we're going to set up time to, walk you through the analysis very thoroughly and answer every single question that you have so that you can see the real power of what we're telling you and actually implement this to improve your lives and your financial livelihood.
Yeah, and again, just going back to that initial meeting, spending time with either Dylan or myself, at the minimum, we're going to be able to understand your specific lenders, whether they're private loans or government loans, just by hearing who your servicer is and give you facts and information that could help you right away enter into proper repayment programs, especially for doctors. There are many specific programs that each lender offers that can benefit you immediately. So I highly encourage you, if you're on this call and listening, please set up an initial appointment to speak with one of us so we can help guide you in the right direction as you're still entering into residency. I think it's very, very important.
Great. All right, guys, that's the basic, gist of our presentation here. Those are the highlights. And now we'd like to open it to any questions that you may have. Feel free to write any questions in the chat, and we will make sure to get them answered. Pull that up. Anyone, any questions? Let me see the questions. All right, so I got a question here. Is there any additional cost to me? Which is a great question. I appreciate you asking that. Here's another beautiful thing. There is no additional cost to you. So everything that we do, 100% of the funds that you are putting in and allocating, they are going to exactly either the loan or how we're putting into financial vehicles, whatever it is. We are not taking a fee on any of that money from the client. Anything that we're compensated on is from the actual financial providers that we work with. So that was a great question.
And how to set up a consultation. I think I saw that question. We will be sending out after this webinar a follow-up email. There'll be a link right there to our calendar where you can book time to speak with us. And that also kind of answers our how can we contact you. If you want, you can check out our website at the www.wehatedebt.com, or Dylan's going to be sending a follow-up email to all of you. And all of our consultations and all of our planning, again, is complimentary. We wholeheartedly believe providing plans to show someone how to get out of debt should be complimentary. We're never going to charge someone a fee to see a program.
That's right. And when we implement everything, there's still no fee to the client as well.
That's another great question. All of the information we go through is, of course, private. We are not going to be sharing the information with anyone else. It is all between us and the client. And we will even help you, if you want us to, get you set up with the proper repayment programs by speaking with the lenders directly. And we can do that by you adding us as an authorized speaker to your student loan servicer. We'd be happy to help you with that as well.
That's right. And guys, I really, really, really encourage you to take advantage and just sit down and talk to us. We just want to get to know you guys, tell you a little bit more about what we do and how we've helped so many people in similar situations to yourselves. We love what we do. We've been able to help a lot of people, and we really do look forward to meeting each and every one of you. If there's no more questions, again, there's going to be a follow-up email as soon as we get off this Zoom webinar. That's going to have our contact information, a link to schedule time to meet with us individually. And the whole goal is to live life, right? And to live life, you have to live interest-free every day. So again, thank you so much for the time on behalf of myself, on behalf of David. We really appreciate you guys, spending your evening with us, and we look forward to meeting each and every one of you.
Thank you guys. Have a great night.